I'm Erin Holland.
And I'm Darren Palmer, and this is Home of the Century. Home of the Century is the podcast that makes property feel possible.
Every episode is honest, practical, and filmed in the kind of homes that make you stop and think, hey, I could do that.
Because you can.
Home of the Century, proudly brought to you by Century 21.
Australia and New Zealand's most trusted name in real estate.
What if the same money that buys you a 2-bedroom apartment in the city buys you a 4-bedroom house, a pool, and a studio?
For a lot of Australians right now, that is not a fantasy, that's a decision.
Tamaya and Dan made it. 2 kids, 13 years in Sydney, and a fresh start somewhere that gave them more of everything.
Welcome to Home of the Century.
Peace, quiet, serenity, space. I feel like I'm on holidays, but we're not. We're at Dan and Tamaya's house, Darren, and I just feel like I have just been transported to a holiday home, but this is your reality. This is where you live now. And I'd love to start with your property journey because, I mean, you wear Sydney slickers like we currently are, but you've come up north to God's country, a couple of hours away, and I am obsessed. But let's go back to the beginning. What made you leave Sydney other than, this gorgeous house that we're living in right now? What was the journey like?
I'm originally from here, so I've been chipping away at Dan for years and years, grinding him down. And he was always like, never, I'm never, ever leaving. So I thought we'd stay in Sydney forever. And then one day, I think we'd been on a big holiday in WA and it changed his mind. And he said, I could probably move. And I was like, what? And as soon as he did it, I was like, right, okay. 6 months later, sold our apartment and we moved.
Wow.
Tell me about your apartment. Where did you live in Sydney? What was life like there?
We lived in Camperdown. 13 years we had that place, I'm pretty sure. It was great. In the west of Sydney, it's fantastic. You've got restaurants on your doorstep. You've got...
13 years.
13
years
13.
You're in an apartment.
Yep.
Yes. A big apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a warehouse conversion, so very big.
But it didn't quite get big enough. Like you needed a bit more space. What makes you move away from a home of 13 years in one location where your lives are settled, where your kids are, and you're like, okay, let's go.
I think it's probably started with needing more space for our kids because they were sharing a bedroom. So on a bunk bed, they were getting 11 and 9. They're starting to get a bit bigger, and they're kind of
territorial.
It's starting to be like, why am I sharing a room with my young sister? Yeah. And so that's probably where the conversation started, is to try and get a bigger place.
And we didn't want to move out further. We liked the inner west.
We liked where we were.
And
the reality was a 3 or 4 bedroom house in Camperdown at the time, which was only 2.5 years ago, but they were really expensive.
Yeah.
Super expensive. So then it became a bit of, okay, what should we do? Where do we go from here? Tamaya toyed up Tasmania and...
Tassie?
Yeah, and I was like, hang on, we've never even been there. Let's just chill on that a little bit. And then we looked at the south coast as well, around Jiroa and Gerringong and Berry, but that was quite expensive as well. And a bit small town. I like big cities. We've always travelled to big cities as well, and a good sort of step away from Sydney. Still big enough here. There's plenty of cafes and restaurants and pubs and cool things to do here.
Close enough to Sydney as well. Should you need to be there for work, you can still get
and my
there.
family as well, obviously. And we're close to the beach. We're close to the city, and
because this is such a conversation that I think has happened all around Australia, particularly post-COVID. All of a sudden, the actual 4 walls that you live in became so much more important when we're actually forced to live in them rather than living outside of our space in Sydney. Because I know what I love about Sydney is the hustle and bustle, and there's always something to do. But when you're forced to actually live within your 4 walls 24/7 for that period of time, I think a lot of us sort of reorganised our thoughts and actually thought about the quality of living. And I can only imagine when you've also got 2 dependents to think about as well with that quality of living, that conversation just takes a whole new route. So I think, the discussions that you were having is something that so many people can relate to. And when we have this, regional versus city lifestyle, bang for buck, I mean, what you got for your money with your apartment in the city versus what you could get here, I mean, we're talking 2, 3, 4 times the size, right?
Yeah. And it was about the same money.
Yeah. So we went from a 2-bedroom apartment It was quite big, but yeah, to come to a 4-bedroom house with 2
pool.
bathrooms, with a pool, standalone property, you know, it was fantastic. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yep, but how did you get that past your kids? Because what you did was uprooted their entire life.
Yes.
How old were they at this time?
Aware.
I think 12 and 10.
12 and 10. Yeah.
It was hard.
It was hard.
I didn't think they'd want to do it, and I don't know. They just came around, didn't they?
Yeah,
How did you get them to do that? Honestly, I think a lot of people are going to be in the same position as you, and they're going to have making the decision to leave the city to go to another place that you can get more for your money, and you have to have those conversations with your kids, and you have to be able to explain why life's going to be better. Like, how did you do that?
I think the timing with the schooling probably had a bit to do with it. Like Mila was about to start year 7.
So going to high school.
From primary to high school. So that was a good time for her. A little bit trickier for our younger daughter because she was in year 4 going into year 5.
We showed them the beaches, and we have a reserve close to us that's like got beautiful waterfalls and a walkway and stuff in there. So we took them there. We showed them all the highlights.
Yes.
And
At first there was resistance for sure.
Yeah.
You know, you're young kids who are just into their sort of end of primary school. They've got all their friends, like you were saying. You know, they're pretty well entrenched there, and to uproot them, I think at first they were a bit like, oh, but all my friends and everything I know. So it took a while.
Good tactic.
Took a little bit of convincing, but after they came around. Pretty good.
Good tactic. How did you come across the home?
we decided we weren't going to buy a place at first. We were going to rent. We were like, we're just renting. But then I
Sensible.
think...
Yeah.
That's really smart.
And then, because we hadn't rented in so long, you forget what it's like to be a renter, and like certain things, like they said that we had a car spot, but we didn't. And then the blinds fell down. And then normally if you own a house, you're like, all right, I'm going to get someone to fix that, or you fix it yourself. But then we waited like 7 weeks for them to put the blinds back up. So after that, we were like, oh my God, let's just look. And I'd seen this place before, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to look at it. And then Dan was like, oh, let's go and look.
Yeah, so that was the parking thing. We'd missed out on a house down the road as well at auction. We got outbid at the last hammer stroke. Like in between 2 and 3. A guy came in and outbid us, and we were devastated. And Tamai was on the phone. I was at the auction.
You hate that guy.
We did hate that guy.
That guy.
We did hate that guy, but we also now love that guy.
Yeah,
Because,
it wasn't meant to be.
We would not be here right now if we got that house.
And this house is so much nicer.
This way better.
Yeah.
What is it about real estate where it genuinely just feels like the right thing happens at the right time, and you might not have known it at the time and you were devastated, but you ended up in something that suits you even better, you absolutely love. I mean, this is fully renovated. This feels like it's literally just freshly been done. It's so airy, it's beautifully done. Given your own aesthetic as well, I feel like you've literally handpicked everything in here as well. It just feels so iconically you two, which is lovely. But in terms of finding a fixer-upper or walking into something fully renovated, I believe you were considering maybe renovating your Sydney apartment before you decided to move here, where you're just like, nah, risk versus reward, investment. Like, what made you go, nah, you know what? I just want something that is done and I don't have to think about it or live through a reno. Like, how was that sort of decision tossing up?
It's pretty easy, actually.
I'm not much of a handyman, to be honest. And the idea of getting a place cheaper and then fixing it all up and doing a lot of it yourself, I was like, I don't think I'm up for that, And obviously I'm quite busy with work. I travel a lot for work as well. So, being away from home, it's kind of like I didn't want to be away for work and then have to come back on weekends and be like, oh, I've got to fix up the bathroom this weekend, or whatever.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah.
Super familiar with that.
Yes.
And I can understand the appeal of walking into something finished and being like, oh, there's nothing left to do. Except for hang my plants and hang my artworks.
Yeah.
Which are
that was pretty much
gorgeous, by the way. Oh my gosh, I'm absolutely obsessed.
We walked into this place and we both were like, oh my God, this is the spot.
It is good to renovate because then you can choose everything that you want. But then, I don't know, they did such a nice job in here. There's a few things I'd change, but nothing really.
Just aesthetic stuff, though, that can be done when the time is right?
Yeah, if we wanted to. But it's just nice to be able to walk in and then it's about the lifestyle. You just live your life and decorate and, it's done.
So you found the place that you wanted to be geographically. Then you found the right home for you. how did you know it was right? Like when you got to the front door and it reveals itself to you, is it that the data made you feel good, or is it that you felt good emotionally? Like, what's the decision trigger for you?
You just feel it. I think when you walk into the house that you want to buy, as soon as you walk in, you just get that feeling. And I think we walked over to the kitchen window and we looked outside at the amazing view, and we just like, you just take a deep breath and you're like, oh God, it feels good. And we're like, this is it. But then we're like, oh, we're never going to afford it. We're like, we can't afford this. No way, no way. And
I think that's probably the main thing. The view for me was one of probably the main things. We had an apartment in Camperdown. We backed onto an industrial estate. We had glass bricks out on the.
We looked at a car park. It was beautiful.
We looked at a car park.
There is a car park.
With 2 palm trees. That was pretty much it. So
because you've had the devastation of the failed auction, you miss out on the house that you thought was the one. You didn't even think about looking at this because you thought it was out of the price range, or no, there's no way we'll get it. How did it actually happen then? What was the process like purchasing this place?
It was actually pretty good. We didn't tell anyone. So like with other places, we told all our family, we're going for this. We're, everyone.
Superstitious.
Yeah, everyone got really excited, and then
I see crystals.
I love it.
But we didn't talk to the real estate agent because we sort of came in at the last minute.
cagey.
Yeah,
I love it.
cagey.
I love it.
yes, we were those guys.
They didn't know anything about us, and then we stood at the auction, and because of the last one, when we got gazumped, I'm like, Dan, we're not bidding. I'm like, just play it cool.
So the strategy is coming into play. Sitting back, reading the room.
And I
Sydney
wasn't.
Cowboys coming in and ruining the party.
I know. I wasn't nervous either. We just stood there, and Dan's like, should I bid? I'm like, no. Well, let's watch what everyone else did. So I watched everything.
We had a price in mind of obviously what your top line was going to be.
Yeah.
And a strategy.
Yes, yeah. And I just watched everyone, and then when it started slowing down a bit, I'm like, all right, Dan. And then I did.
But how do you keep yourself together? How do you hold your horses? Because
she was doing better than me actually on that day. I was the one going, we should be down. And she's like, that's okay. And then the real estate agent came over and she was like, are you guys okay at this level? And I was like, yeah.
Well,
she goes, all right. And we hadn't bid yet. We hadn't bid at all.
Yeah.
And it was just going up and up. And then, like Tamaya said, when she finally sort of was like, now we start. And I was
smash them.
And I was like,
and I thought we would have been the hated people at that auction.
Yeah, but then there was a few bids after we started jumping
so
in.
So
we came in and
bit of back and forth with some other vendors.
There was a couple of other purchases that were, around the same.
How did you intimidate them out of the market?
I bid as soon as they bid.
Got it.
As soon as they put the next bid up, I just went, yep.
I've got unlimited funds.
Sort of. We didn't, of course, but
they don't know that.
No, they don't know that.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then as soon as there was 2 other bids, I want to say after, or 3 maybe, each time straight away I just put my hand up, next call, and then I could see that people.
I think I took over after.
They started looking at us, and they were like, these guys are,
people.
I think, and I've been in a few auctions, and I think you start to see, you can tell who's serious and who's
like, damn it, don't mess with them.
Yeah, and that guy's probably gonna.
Yeah.
Just
keep going.
Yeah, and then obviously, you hope that you can outbid whoever's next in line, and we got there in the end.
Yeah.
Probably a bit under. It was actually a bit under what we had budgeted, I think. Not heaps. Yeah.
So I'm so interested in how you did this, not really having a relationship with the agent as well. So you'd obviously requested your building in Pest. I assume you've done your due diligence. And then you kind of kept it low key, and then came in and did what was done to you with the other place.
Yeah, kind of.
Knifed him.
But we didn't have any. There was no last second bidding.
Got it.
The hammer hadn't come down.
Got it.
So that was the difference, I would say.
So they're better people.
Yeah, we are.
Much better person.
Morals.
So I think that was probably the main difference.
And how was that feeling? The hammer comes down.
Oh, it was so
for less
good.
than you wanted to pay.
I
That
know.
wasn't that. Can we go a little bit higher? That and you're having those really awful conversations because auctions are stressful, right? You're buying with conditions that are unconditional, right? From the word go, you need the certain amount of deposit. There's all of those considerations to take in, and it comes in at less than what you wanted to pay. Elation, oh my God, what was that like?
What are we going to buy? What else can we buy?
All this extra money.
We're going for furniture shopping.
Pictures, artwork.
More crystals, maybe.
Yeah,
More
more crystals. Yeah, the crystals worked. More crystals. Yeah, how was that feeling? Was it like we've made the right decision?
Didn't feel real, I think. It was kind of
at
like,
first it was a bit odd, yeah.
oh God, did this just happen? And then our family, we were like, oh, we just bought a house today. I think we just posted it.
Because we didn't tell anyone about it.
But like, we just bought a house today. Like, hey, no big deal. Just bought a house today.
So yeah, we just posted a picture, you know, the classic real estate picture with a bottle of champagne out the front with the sold.
And that was the first they knew about. Oh my God! Can you
Didn't
imagine?
tell our parents.
I love that.
Didn't tell our siblings or anything.
Yeah, it was good.
Just made our own decision and
So cowboy of you.
just
I
live
love
for
it.
Yeah.
It was meant to be. Like,
yeah, it really was.
This is Home of the Century,
Brought to you by Century 21.
Australia and New Zealand's most trusted name in real estate.
So that was a couple of years ago now. We've well and truly settled. As I said, like it still feels completely fresh and brand new, but the styling is gorgeous. You've really made it your own. How are we feeling now that you've been in here for a couple of years? No looking back, this has been the right decision.
No, it's great. It's fantastic. Like even the other day, remember I was walking outside at night, away, the stars were outside, and I just came up the stairs and I looked up and I was like, oh, I remember when we first moved in. It was just amazed at how many stars you can see, because you don't get that in Sydney, right? Because of the glare, or any big cities, because of the glare. And I just little things like that, you just remind you, and it was like, oh, that's one of the, you know, that's why we moved here.
So connection to nature, obviously,
Yep.
more bang for your buck, but also you've got this other lifestyle proposition here that you've got a pool, you've got a backyard, you've got a
ceramic
pottery
studio.
Yeah. Like, tell me about that. Like, this is something actually I would really love to do, because I
I could
feel like
see you doing something like that. You'd lose him forever. Where's Darren in the studio?
I can't paint for anything, but I am good with my hands.
You'd be good at it then.
Yeah, and I loved it at school. So.
Yeah, it's just practice. Like I did one of those courses and I was terrible on the wheel and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this. But I'm like, I need to get one at home. So we had the space downstairs, so I bought a wheel and then I just started practicing.
The Patrick Swayze ghost situation. That's what
Dan was thinking.
That was the first thing I did when the wheel got delivered. I started singing that song.
Of course, you had to.
And I came down and I was like, and she was like,
I've got clay all over my head. Get away.
Not quite as sexy.
Not romantic at
Not quite
all.
as sexy as you think.
One of the biggest things, as you rightly said, when you are making such a big transition, how that worked with work. How did you manage to make it work? Did you have a change in career? Could you work from home? This obviously all happened post-COVID as well, so we've all lived through that transition of, well, I can actually work from home, and there is a lot more fluidity with the workplace these days. How did you get your head around making that decision on top of everything else?
Yeah.
Easy for Tamara?
Easy for me because I work from home anyway, so it didn't really affect me moving here. It was just, I just have a beautiful office now rather than working in the living room like we did back in Sydney. But for Dan, the stars aligned, the universe provided.
I just decided to take a plunge. I was like, we'll move, I'll find work. I'll just go for it.
That is peaky.
Yeah.
To have the courage to be able to go, we have made this decision on behalf of our family, and whatever happens, we're going to work it out. That's really courageous. It's not nothing. That's something.
Maybe, and maybe it's because things did work out, right? So I was working as the warehouse manager, and then I have a long history in sales. A sales rep position became available where I was currently working for this territory. I'm leaving anyway. Do you want me to stay? And I'll do the sales job. And they were like, yeah, can you start next week? And I started the next week.
Wow.
Yeah.
And for families who are wrestling with this, lifestyle versus location situation with a lot of the big cities, we know that capital growth in areas like Sydney and Melbourne is becoming unsustainable for just so many people who want space and lifestyle. We're seeing a lot of migration up to Brisbane, out to places like God's country that are still close and within driving distance to the big cities. But in terms of actually making that decision that you so bravely made and ended up being the correct one, what did that look like? Did you write down on a piece of paper, these are the pros, these are the cons? How do you take the plunge and settle on that?
maybe it was just where we were at in our lives. I don't know.
I think maybe we thought my job could just sustain us for a little
I
bit.
think you offered
We're
to
like,
pay everything. For a while.
I'm like, yeah, I'll
Pretty
pay
sure
for
that's
everything.
how it went down, actually. Yeah.
Brilliant.
It's a
great
I think I
motivator.
remember you saying that. It hasn't worked out that way, of course, but look, I'm confident in myself. I'm sure I'd get work, some sort of work. It might not have been what I wanted to do, but I would just get a job.
Yeah.
If it meant just getting a job to earn some money to contribute, then great.
Yeah.
And something would have worked itself out, I'm sure. So, and it did, of course. So I think maybe having the right attitude helped with that anyway, and being a bit more positive with it. And
Crystals.
The universe
or
is
just
London.
crystals. Who knows?
I did ask for a sign to see if we should move. I went on a walk and I said, put it out to the universe. I'm like, give me a sign of a feather if we should go. Is this going to be like the wrong decision?
Oh, I'm going to get goosebumps.
And I walked and walked and I'm like, there's no damn feather. I'm like,
Where are the
right.
birds?
And as I was walking, there was a big truck and it had feathers written on it with a big white feather printed on it. And I was like,
Oi.
you've got to go.
That's the sign.
That's a big feather.
Crazy.
In case you weren't sure,
In case you missed the one we left on the footpath.
spelling it out for you.
You're moving to Newcastle. Wow.
That's
You know
amazing.
how they say that when a bird poops on you, it's good luck?
Yeah.
The very first time I went to Sydney, when I moved, before I moved to Sydney, I got pooped on. And I was like, that's the day, right in that spot is where I decided I would move to Sydney, like right then and there.
That was your sign.
And, well, it just happened to work out.
Yeah.
But I'm like you. I'm like
Yeah, my sister's very woo-hoo. She's just like,
woo-woo is the right way to say
she's
it.
like, just ask for a sign and you've got to say it out loud,
Yeah.
put it out there. And then I did, and I can't believe that happened that day. So.
Oh yeah. That's not a subtle sign.
Yeah, it was like kick you in the face.
That's a hammer to the face.
That's incredible. So, the property journey, it's obviously taken you from Sydney to here. What does the future look like for you guys? Would you ever see yourself moving again? Do you see? No?
Never.
I even think if I won the lotto, I'm like, sure, I'd buy another property on Scenic Drive looking out
But
at the
it's here.
ocean. But I want to stay here. We'll do something to this place.
When we sold in Camperdown, I think we lived in 5 different houses in 6 months.
Oh, God.
So we sold our place in Camperdown. We lived at my mum went overseas for a holiday for 2 months. We lived there for 2 months. Then we had an Airbnb for 2 months. Then we had the rental in Newcastle. Then we moved here. So
A lot
after
of
that,
moving.
5 moves, all the trucks and storage units and like just coming here. Obviously, we're stoked with this place, and I'm like, I don't need to do that.
Is that
Ever
advice that you might give people as well when you're making such a big sea change? Renting just for a little bit, making
Yep.
sure that it does feel good and comfortable for your family before you do actually take the plunge
Yep.
and invest?
I think so. Yeah, I think
and then you can explore and you can look at different areas.
Yes.
I think it's good. A friend of mine's actually doing it soon. I'm like, rent first.
Yeah, because even if you want to be in that city, you don't necessarily know what area,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
suburb,
Correct.
whether you want to be next to the ocean or next to the trees, or like where the catchments are, what schools you want to be in. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's good
a
to
lot of
explore.
things to decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we would have stayed there, to be honest, like at the rental, apart from, a few things happened, like the curtains falling down and not getting fixed
You
for
couldn't put your
7 weeks.
you couldn't put your plants up like this. You
and
couldn't
you
hang your
couldn't-
artwork.
I couldn't-
Exactly.
I know,
It was all in
couldn't put my
storage, and
artworks up.
it's just that was a bit annoying. But definitely, it was fantastic renting for 3 months. Like being able to feel what living here is actually like, and how different it is to Sydney, and because it's much smaller, a lot less people, but there's still a lot going on here.
So I think for a buyer to determine when is the best time to stop bidding, no auctioneer will tell you there's any good time to stop. We'd love to see it continue on. But the reality is that you've got budgetary constraints, and the thing that every buyer should do is really have 3 prices in mind: a price you'd love to buy it for, what you think it's probably worth, and what your push come to shove number is. And once you've hit that number, make a decision, and I would highly recommend that you write those 3 numbers down somewhere. Take a look at them during the auction so that you can remind yourself of your thoughts pre-auction, as opposed to the very emotional state that you might be in during the course of the auction, and just reevaluate whether, 1, you've got the budget, and 2, whether you want to stick to your number, or whether you're going to let the emotion of the process take you away. And I would strongly recommend that you stick to your number.
This feels very inspirational, doesn't it, for anyone that's potentially listening, watching, going, do I have the courage to do it? Seeing how happy you are and settled is is actually really inspirational. Any final pearls or words of wisdom, or is there a single regret? Because I'm getting a lot of positivity.
I have one.
Just one?
Uber Eats isn't as good here. In the inner west, there was so much to choose.
Whatever you wanted, right?
So good.
That's true.
And I have found a few places here, but it's not as good. Yeah.
If
That's
that's
the only thing.
That's not too bad though, I think.
Lucky you have a great kitchen
Yeah.
Yep.
because you can cook.
Yes.
And as long as your friends can get a cab ride home after coming over to your house for dinner, you're sweet.
Yeah. We're good.
Yeah, no, we're good.
I love that. Success.
Yes.
This is what success looks like, making a sea change. I love it.
This is Home of the Century.
Proudly brought to you by Century 21.